despicable to be a Buckeye and be the third worst in this country. And we're stripping out the politics, and we've got our budget balanced structurally. And Standard & Poor's, my favorite credit rating agency, instead of downgrading the state, took us off negative watch and put us on stable. And that's not a validation from John Kasich and his administration. That's a validation from people who have downgraded the credit of the United States of America. It means we're winning. And let me just tell you this. Since we have begun to treat job creation as something that works at the speed of the marketplace, we have been involved from January to September in 175 total projects where we've partnered with business. We will create over time a commitment to 11,783 jobs, and we have retained 24,304 jobs, and we have a commitment for $1.6 billion in capital investment. See, that's not like losing 600,000 jobs. That means we're beginning to win. And let me give you a couple examples. American Greetings, they were leaving. They're a creative company located up in the Cleveland area. It would have been a terrible loss. They're staying and building a new headquarters. Diebold, anybody from Canton in this audience? What would have happened if we lost Diebold up there in Canton? Yeah, that's exactly right. The same thing that happened when NCR left Dayton. We kept Diebold. It means that airport lives up there, and they're building a new world headquarters. A couple of wins. Omnicare has come from Kentucky to locate in Cincinnati. People in Kentucky are complaining the governor of Ohio wants to steal all of our jobs. I don't want to steal them all, just most of them, you know. Wendy's came home from Georgia. It's fantastic, and you know, we just know that Ford has just announced a $1 billion capital investment in the state of Ohio. Michigan at $2 billion, Ohio at $1 billion, and everybody else beneath us. You know, we're beginning to win, but we have a long way to go. Now, I mentioned to you this idea of location. You know, one of the first things we did was I found out about North Baltimore and the intermodal in North Baltimore. And I said to Jerry, can you go up there and help those people with their infrastructure? You know, you rely on the federal government, well, let's rely on the feds, right? Jerry said, let me go up and check it out. He was able to make a significant commitment of resources to deal with the artery problem up in North Baltimore. If North Baltimore can really be fixed, it does serve as an alternative to going to Chicago with a lot of your products. It's pretty darn exciting, isn't it, Jerry? Got to figure out how to get those double-stacked trailers all the way through to the seaport, but you know, we kind of get it. We're thinking about it, and we're figuring out other ways to work. So we got the Turnpike. Now, I understand people love the Turnpike. I understand that they have just applied for membership in the United Nations as a separate country. I do understand that. But here's the thing. If you have an underutilized asset, shouldn't you use it to make it work to build a stronger Ohio? If you ask the people that are up near that Turnpike, what have they done for the communities up there? How much money or help have they given? Zero. I wanted a sound wall. I wanted something fixed on an exit fixed to be able to cross these overhead passes. How's it going? Terrible. The legislature actually had to write into the law directives to the Turnpike to get them to be responsive to the people that live up there. But I understand people are very attached to this thing. But let me ask you this. If we were able to get billions of dollars by leasing that Turnpike and taking that money and using it to fix our harbors, using it to fix our roads, we talk about North Baltimore. Would you like to see I-75 expand? Would you like that business? Maybe not. I don't know. I would think so. And I can't commit to that, but I'm saying it's one of those big projects that are out there. If you want to start fixing roads and bridges and take some of our own resources to control our own destiny, to improve our infrastructure, not on the basis of who knows who, but who can help us to build a system that leads to higher productivity and more job creation? What do you think? Or should we let it sit there for another 50 years and have people not get anything of what they want? I guarantee you they'll be a lot more responsive in the next couple of months. That's the way it works, because they're getting concerned. Let me tell you a couple of the things that we would like to do. First of all, we would commit, and we don't know what we're going to do yet. We're not sure we're going to lease it. We're not sure that we're not going to maintain control of it and bond against that revenue. We're not sure yet. Just like what we did on the prisons. If this doesn't work for the people of the state, we're not going to do it. But if it works for the people of the state, and all of a sudden we can start having a lot of jobs created and infrastructure improved, safety increased, people going to work. I mean, what, are you kidding me? We're not going to do it? Of course we'd have to look at it, but we'll have to see. Now, a couple of things. The majority of the proceeds from a Turnpike lease should be spent in Northern Ohio. We'll make a commitment that at least half of the proceeds from a lease or a bond would mean that we put at least half the money on roads that are north of Route 30. We think that's a fair thing. We can't put it all up there because, you know, we have infrastructure needs all across the state, but we can give more than half to the people that live up there. Secondly, communities that are directly on the Turnpike that have been ignored, they should get special support. There are communities all along the Turnpike that have been adversely affected by it, but the Turnpike's construction policies really haven't benefited them, whether it's increased noise because of a new third lane or local roads over the Turnpike that have been forced to close because of unstable slopes supporting the bridge. It's time to be good neighbors and fix these problems that have been neglected or ignored for too many years. Jerry will go and visit with these folks along that Turnpike. You want a sound wall? We're interested. You want that overpass to be fixed? We're interested. We'll work with you. And we'll be responsive to you. Thirdly, federal funds for local bridges come with so much red tape that counties leave half of those funds unspent because they can't afford the cost of complying. We'll create a special funding system for local bridges that is easier and cheaper for local governments. Here's the bottom line on this. When you're governor, you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what can come out of nowhere. And you know what I don't want to have? And it could happen in this state. I don't want a bridge collapse. I don't want it. We can't prevent everything bad from happening, that's for sure. But if I can have the resources to make sure, and I don't want to demagogue this, I could, but I'm not going to do that. We've got to fix our bridges, don't we? Huh? I mean, is there a lot of head shaking here, or do we not need to worry about it? You're the engineer, you tell me. But we want to put money in the bridge program. We want to fix these dilapidated bridges. We want to fix these highways that are not safe. Can you imagine that there are all these local governments that can't even take federal dollars to fix these things locally because they can't even figure out how to get through it? You know, back in the old days when I was in Congress, I proposed a bill to leave a little bit of money in the Highway Trust Fund and take the rest of it, repeal it, and send it back to the states and let the states have their own rules, their own regulations, and levy their own taxes. That wasn't going to go anywhere because the politicians in Washington want to get their hands on our money. And now they got so many dumb rules in this thing, they can't even figure out how to spend the money to improve the infrastructure. Why don't we control some of our own destiny, folks? Don't be afraid. I think we can do the job. Public transit should get a reliable, dedicated funding stream. It helps the elderly, it helps people with disabilities lead independent lives, especially in rural communities, and it helps the poor to get access to where they can stop being poor and where they can get opportunity. So we think we should have a revenue stream for public transit. Help the communities along the Turnpike, fix the bridges, help the poor, the disabled, and the elderly, and spend at least half the money north of Route 30. You know, Well, there's always naysayers on anything you want to do. There are politicians that'll make a career out of fighting any change on the Turnpike. They can't wait for the fight. Get their name in the paper. But we need your help on this. If we go forward, and like I say, we don't know what we're doing yet because we're not sure of how all the numbers will work out. We could find out this is a very bad time to try to lease. And if it is, we'll stop. But with so much capital sitting on the sidelines, it may be a great time to do this. And maybe we'll actually find that we could retain control bond against it. We won't get the money, but maybe it's the best thing to do. We don't know. So nobody can guess what we're going to do because we don't know what we're going to do yet, but we've hired a financial advisor and we're going to figure this out. But we need you. We need to improve Ohio's infrastructure. We need to take care of our safety issues. We need to take care of these bridges. And we're going to work like crazy to get it done. And if you like this idea and you want to help us, you need to let Jerry know. And if we come together as a state, and here's the one thing I want to tell you. I believe for too long we've been divided into regions in Ohio, you know. But what I believe is this. If Cleveland hurts, Columbus hurts. If Southern Ohio hurts, they hurt in Cincinnati. If Grand Lake St. Mary's is in trouble, that means Lake Erie should be feeling the pain. And when Lake Erie's in trouble, we ought to be feeling the pain at Buckeye Lake. When people are unemployed in one part of Ohio, we ought to be thinking about how lucky we are in another part of Ohio and think about how we can help. It's teamwork. It's the same teamwork that I use to balance the budget in Washington and get the job done here. And by the way, also in that budget, we killed the death tax so you could turn your business over to your kids without having them to go to the undertaker and the tax department on the same day. I assume you like that provision a lot, and I'm glad that we got that done. But at the end of the day, we're all Ohioans. And if we work together, we won't be the third worst state on employment in America. We'll be one of the 3 or 4 or 5 best in America. And that's our goal. And let me conclude by telling you this. You know, I did this job because I think throughout my life, from that mailman house all the way to governor of Ohio, the Lord has helped me to be successful. Oh, I work hard. That's right. Are you kidding? There's so many more people talented and smarter. But for whatever reason, the Lord has given me some direction and some talents and some tools. We all have them in this room. Some of us just never unwrap them until maybe the final hours. But I believe that when you have them, you have an obligation to do. Not to wait, not to sit it out, not to be afraid, but to do things. 1 out of 4 kids in this state are in poverty. And you know what it must be like for mom or dad to go home and sit at the dinner table and tell the kids, I lost my job today. Everything we do in this state should be geared to educating our kids, educating our workforce, creating an environment where people can get work. Because when people get work, they become hopeful again. And when people get work, the family is stronger. The kids are uplifted. And good things happen. That's what we're all about. And if we work at it together, there's no doubt in my mind, because of all the assets we have in this state, we'll win. Thanks for giving me a chance to be here this morning. I hope you have a great conference. And if you can help us, you come and tell us, okay? Thank you all.